Hello and welcome to the Divine CEO Show. I'm Laura Topper and I'm joined today by Monica Browning. I'm so excited to be in communion and conversation with you, Monica. Thank you for coming on to the Divine CEO Show today.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me. It's just so delightful to know you and to have this opportunity to be with you, and I just love all of our chats.
Oh yeah, this is a divine intervention.
Yes.
Yes. And thanks to Tisha for kind of connecting the dots here.
Absolutely. I mean, what a divine sisterhood, and you and I are definitely kindred spirits.
Definitely. And so viewers, listeners, at whatever point in time you're listening to this, whether it's in the future or right now, it's great to be with you and joining us. And we welcome your comments, your ideas, any questions you have for Monica, or anything you want to input here in the chat on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you find this, then go ahead, because this is a great opportunity to know more about Monica and the work that she brings into the world. And so, yes, we've got a viewer here. Welcome in. And I'm going to read a little bit about you, Monica, so that people can just get the vibe of the amazingness of what you do. Wow. Monica Browning is an intuitive international parenting coach, speaker, and #1 best-selling author of The Connected Parent, how to raise children who feel seen, safe and worthy. Monica is the founder of Home and Harmony Parenting and the creator of the 7 Pillars of Parenting Alignment, a heart-led framework helping families raise emotionally healthy, connected children. With nearly 20 years in early childhood education, a master's in organizational leadership, woohoo, and a deep commitment to conscious parenting. Monica, you bring such light to the world, and thank you for being here and sharing today, because I know that this goes beyond parenting. This is also how we parent ourselves.
For sure. Yeah, it's been quite a journey. Thank you for having this platform and inviting me on. Thank you so much.
And I know we've had a great conversation in the past few weeks and got to know each other. And from knowing your work in the world and why you do what you do, I'd love you to share more of that with the viewers here, and to give insight on what it is, why you do it.
Yeah, and just like you said, it's like a reparenting of the self. Also, it's just a whole journey of self-discovery. I think that's the biggest myth about parenting, is that it activates all the triggers. We think that it might be like this, Little House on the Prairie, but it's really active. I call it a practice, and I practice parenting every single day. And my journey actually began in the classroom as a preschool teacher. And first I was an assistant, and then I worked my way up. And I'd always been a child whisperer. My mom would always tell me that I was more like a parent as a child, and I was always better with children than she was. And I think that's the other thing, is that if so many parents, like, we don't really have experience being with children, especially a classroom full of children, and then we have our own children, and then we either know how we were raised or we don't know anything. I mean, that's mostly the common way, really, because it's just kind of like a nurse or a doctor. It's like a different mentality to go into the classroom and be with little children all day long, every day. And I love that aspect of it. And I learned so much through trial and error, and then, so experience and then education. And so combining all of that is how and then becoming my own a parent of my own daughters. And so I really want to help the world in this, because that's, it's the future, is our children, and how we raise them is how they're going to, it's just, that's the cycle of life. Yeah. So that's kind of that. I don't know if that was the specific answer, but
yeah, I mean, as you're saying this, I'm really tuning into that. Before we have children, if we choose to have children, and then we learn, as you said, we learn from our own experience, and then, oh wow, okay, there's a child in my life.
yeah. And even, even caregivers. So if you're not necessarily, if you didn't actually, birth the child, you still have that caregiving role, which is
Sure.
very influential. And so it's a whole nother responsibility to have ourself, and then a little one that we are their influence.
And isn't it interesting how now at this time we like, do you think there's more of an awareness now of the paradigm that we live in, or the paradigm in our own minds, in our own world that we live in, that we can kind of thought transfer into our children, and they pick up from that? And there's more awareness of that now than when I was growing up, where, what my mum and dad did, or what my parents said, of course, that was their way of bringing me up, and that was based on how they'd been brought up. And so it's like, do you see there's a kind of chain breaking thing happening now, where there's more of an opening for understanding the psychology?
I think there's definitely that. Yes, there's definitely more of an awareness. And that was exactly it. It's like changing the parenting paradigm has been my intention, because, if things are generationally not only birthed into us, but that is the generational path of parenting, is what our parents did and what their parents did and what their parents did. And then it does evolve, obviously, because we're in a more modern era than our ancestors. But I think there is a greater level of awareness. I mean, on a whole, and a more of an awakening. And we have other sages and mentors that have led the path, Eckhart Tolle with a new earth, and those kinds of new thought leaders, which really is not new thought. It's just become more popular.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's so it's like you're on the verge of, or we're all on the verge, and here you are as a teacher and a guide and an expert saying it really is time to make a change in the way that. So what are these changes, would you say? If you could, you have 7 pillars, I'd love you to just kind of like a little not a tagline, but just so we can understand what they are for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the pillars, really, I call them the 7 pillars of parenting alignment, because I really feel like when we are in alignment, and this is all about going back to like parenting ourselves as a regulation, because if we're self-regulated, then we're less likely to react, whether we have that pause to respond. So the first pillar is awareness. And I think that there is a growing awareness, and the parents, that really want the support and the community are the parents that are aware that there is either another way, or that there's more support. And so that's the first pillar, is growing our awareness. And then once we do become aware, is responsibility. I mean, we have to take responsibility to do something different, and take that pause instead of our initial reaction, or the paradigm of how we were always raised is always changing. That is, it takes practice, and it's a daily practice, and there's no perfect parent. And even as an expert, or all my years in the classroom, or all my years in education, and then as a parent, my daughters are now teenagers. So I grow through the ages and stages, but there still is perfect. And I think that's another one of the pillars. But the next pillar beyond the responsibility is communication. And there is a new way of communicate. That word is kind of, I don't know, overused, but there's a deeper level of communication. It's not just what we say, it's how we say it, it's listening. There's so many levels, and the words that we do say, I mean, like, we're kind of taught to say be careful, and we're taught to say you're sorry, and we're share with your, brother or sister, and those methods don't work. And then we get frustrated. So there are new ways, which really, it's a process of learning. And I learned a lot of that in the classroom, managing, 2 and 3-year-olds full time on a regular basis. When you have a classroom full of, 14 2-year-olds or 3-year-olds, you learn a different way of communicating, and you learn the way, and children are really, they're the closest we have to our intuition. If we really are present, and that's kind of what the connected parent, my mission is all about, is really about ultimate presence. And we pay attention to the child, we get to decode the way that they're communicating with us. And then we learn that, and then we can mentor and, be their role model from there. So that's the first 3 pillars. And then if anybody is interested, I'm offering my communication is the chapter 3 of my book for free, because I feel like it's the anchor to connection is communication. And so I'm really excited.
I'm putting the link up here, and I'm putting the link in the actual post verbiage as well, so people can click on it directly.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. So those are the first 3 pillars, and they really are in alignment with our chakras as well. If we really break it down, that might be woo-woo for some, but it's really about how we are in alignment. And, the throat chakra is communication. And so I've had to learn how to have a lot of hard conversations, and I think that when we role model for our children how to have these emotionally intelligent or social emotional conversations, it helps with their peers, it helps with their teachers, it helps, it's really a whole health of the child and the family. So that's where that home and harmony came from also. It's like, it's a whole picture. It's not just one thing.
It's a holistic. We can't put it into parts and say those parts don't interact with each other or affect each other. As you're saying this, before you move on to the next few, I was just really feeling into, as you were saying this, wow, what you're doing is really bold, because we need this. I mean, as my generation, our generation, where we may have had long or short bouts of therapy or counseling to unpack, the family system, the parental thing. And so isn't that incredible? As you're saying, I'm really feeling into you, and you're really guiding the way for that not to happen in 20, 30 years time, or maybe to a lesser degree, where children can come out of their parenting experience in a whole new way by the time they reach their 20s. So there isn't such a need for that therapy or that counseling or that, addiction or whatever it is.
No, exactly. I mean, because that's part of it, is that if the child doesn't feel seen, safe, and worthy in the home environment, then as they grow into the adult, right, they're seeking all of these. It's a toxic way of filling those needs
externally.
Exactly. Yes. So that's really is my mission, and I think that there's a stigma around coaching or that sort of field. It's like you either go to a therapist or you don't want to talk about, I want to dispel the myth that getting a coach or getting support is means you're a bad parent, or it means you're doing something wrong. Is not the case at all.
No, because how can we, as you said at the beginning, it's like suddenly there's a life in our hands. There's a life in our life, and we weren't given a manual, and the manual that we were given may be defunct.
Yes, exactly.
It's like it's a whole new learning that has to happen for everyone involved.
Yes. And that is, I actually have a copy because that is the intention. It's like the manual. I mean, this is a manual.
Hold up
This
the
is,
cover. Let me see. Let us all see. Hold it up higher so we can see on it.
oh,
Yeah,
can you see that?
back a bit. The other way. That's it. The connected parent. Beautiful. Are they little lovebirds?
Yeah, my little hummingbirds. This was actually a painting over COVID. When we were in COVID, I painted this picture and I thought hummingbirds are like the caregiver. It's the only bird that can buzz around upside down, backwards, hover. And I feel like that's the job of the parent, is the parent has to do all of these, all these roles.
And know when and when not to.
Exactly. And know when to and when not to.
Not to. Yeah.
So, but I wrote it in that way that like it is the handbook that we don't get. I mean, there's so many and now thank goodness there's so much support for the birthing, and you know the doulas have become very popular, and midwifing obviously has been around for a long time, but it's like what to do after you get the baby home, then what?
Yeah, then what? Then there's the book.
Yeah,
I see
I
your
feel like
book.
I should go around and hand these out in hospitals, but
I was just going to say, I see your book being handed out every time there's a birth happening. Here's the book. Here's the book.
Yes, I mean,
yes.
I wrote it that so it's also really easy to read. It's not like you know, a big thick chapter book where you know you have to you know it's just I don't know. I'm really it's been on my heart for a really long time, so I'm really grateful that I
Will you
got
read something from the book? Just a paragraph? Like read a paragraph for us?
Sure, gosh.
Anything random or not random, but you know, just flick and read. It would be great
Yeah,
to hear
this
your
is
voice.
moving on after chapter 3, communication, the root of connection is compassion and grace. Because the heart is the conscious of parenting. Well, and this kind of, I'll just read this part because if awareness is the maybe I lost you. Oh, I'm in the show. You still there?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. Yes, I'm here. I'm putting you on full screen.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
Oh.
It just says if awareness is the foundation and responsibility is the step forward, then compassion and grace are the heartbeats that keep your parenting alive. And this is the pillar where we soften. And I know this for my own self is that I'm either, you know, hypercritical of myself, or I feel like, you know, what have I done wrong, or what can I do better? And so this is where we actually have to soften, because as we were given the child, you know, that same compassion and grace, hopefully we want to give that to ourselves. And this is kind of how we also are parenting ourselves, because let's remember, adults are essentially grown-up children, and our children are experiencing everything that the adult did or did not get from their childhood. So if we can become really aware of that, like they're just little children and we were in their little shoes. So that's, you know, the patience is another pillar, but yeah,
I love this. You know, what I'm really feeling into this is that it's like we kind of went through, we had a whole way of being as parenting where the parent was right, the child was wrong.
Yeah.
That may have been general in our generation, you know, where
maybe right, they're like the do as I say, not as I do.
The do as I say, not as I do. And so that's how a whole, like millions of us have grown up with that. And then there was a movement to a more conscious parenting, where it was, there's an involvement of the child and the child's needs and desires, and let's really take the child into more contemplation here. And what I'm hearing from you is like you're moving it even like fast forward that the child is a mirror of who we are. And when we do the work
and
for
then
ourselves,
I mean, there's definitely different styles of parenting, and I think that that's where we do what they did, or we do the opposite. And that's kind of like when we give the child like all the freedom in the world, and then we wonder what's going on. You know, we think that it's better to let them choose and all the things, and there has to be a balance. And that's why there's also like consistency and boundaries are also part of the pillars, because, you know, it's a whole framework.
It's a whole, I mean, I personally, for me, I can say there are so many pieces where if I would have known differently, I would have done differently.
Yes. And that's my intention, is I really want to help to show that there is another way. And again, there is no perfection. I mean, it's just connection on a deeper level when we really tune in and become present. And it's a practice.
And do you have, before you move on to the next few, just a question that's popping in, do people come into your world for guidance that maybe their children really have grown and flown the nest?
That really children have what?
Grown up and flown the nest.
Oh, So parenting of children that are adults?
Yeah, so that even, because there's even still that,
yes,
I'm still a parent and this didn't go as I wanted it to go, and I'm still I'm feeling like this, and if only I could have gone back and do it differently.
Yeah, it's not even about going back and doing it differently, because and moving forward though, because I do have clients and their children are grown and out of the house, and come to me with, you know, this is what's going on for my child, and now it's a relationship. So he has a girlfriend, and, you know, it's kind of like, it's hard to say something. And so I just propose where they can go from here.
Yeah.
Kind of like starting where you are. I mean, you do want to reconnect, but you have to reconnect at a way that they'll be receptive, be open to it.
Yeah.
So that's more like asking questions. And I think that that's another avenue, is that we need to be able to connect before we direct. So even if we're the adult and the child is an adult, we want to come to our children if they're grown, and we still want to tell them what to do or give them advice. They're not receptive to that because we're still just talking to them.
Yeah.
They're not listening, right? So if we can connect with them on a different level, and it's really about asking questions and listening. That's the key to.
And listening, as it was in the beginning with your second step.
Yeah.
Wow. Your second pillar, sorry, not step.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah, the communication pillar, yeah.
So what is after, you mentioned that you read the fourth one, responsibility?
Yeah, so awareness, responsibility,
the second
communication, compassion and grace. And and that's where I read that little excerpt from is chapter 4. Yeah. And then chapter 5, or pillar 5, is consistency. And there's so many levels with consistency. And yeah, I was going to try to read a little. I should mark my favorite little passages, but I haven't done that. And then pillar 6 is patience, and pillar 7 is boundaries.
Wow. I mean, all of these are for each and every single adult in the world.
Right.
Regardless of if we have children or little ones or older ones or whatever, you know, children.
Yeah, I mean, this book is really for any age and stage.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is, because and that's like what you said in the beginning, is kind of like it's parenting ourselves. I mean, even if you're not a parent, this is valuable. I mean, I have actually readers in their 70s who have read this, and they're like, this is really good.
Wow.
So it's because it is the framework.
Do you think it's, when you wrote the book, are you writing, I'm wondering, because you've had I love your career. I love that you're coming from a child, like you've had 20 years in childcare, and now you're counseling and guiding and as a coach. And so we shared about this on our last conversation, that you're not coming purely from a therapeutic foundation. You have so much experience as a mother and as a child carer for many children at one time. That knowledge that you have, that you're imparting to us in your book, is gold.
Thank you. It was funny because I was cleaning out my storage, and I found my name tag. It said preschool teacher, and I thought that was, it is a big role. And I wasn't a parent when I was a preschool teacher either, so I had kind of an unbiased opinion. I was just fully immersed in learning the social emotional skills of children, and I had been seeped into the classroom with and it was all of the things, with nap time and potty training and meal time and nap time and separation anxiety and and managing all these different personalities and all of their home life, because I would often coach the parents without during parent conferences, because we're all talking about how the child is getting on. And
it's a holistic thing.
It's a holistic thing. Yeah. And it's really interesting about how, I mean, originally long ago, when I would give my parent teacher, back to school nights and parent classroom thing, it was originally called Bridging the Gap. I was bridging the gap between my classroom and home, because there was so much going on in the classroom that parents really wanted to be able to continue that kind of the structure, the routines and the boundaries and the patience, right? And the communication, like all the pillars, they really have evolved organically out of all of my education and experience. And then how I raised my own children, raising my own children, and seeing this all come together that's where, we, as the Divine CEO, following our passion and following our intuitive abilities and the things that we really want to help, share with the world. And, on a global, because parenting is universal. I mean, parents everywhere go through potty training and sleep and exhaustion and, all the things.
It's so different. The experience is so different for everybody. It's because the parent is different, the child is different, the life circumstance is different. There are so many pieces, and I love it that you have pulled upon these 7 aspects, rather than it being a how to do it, like it is a manual, but it's not a manual that says, they're not physical, they're not tangible things you're talking about. These are the intangible. And that's so powerful, because that's where change happens.
Oh, thank you.
That's where long-term change can happen, because we're not seeking to change it from the outside. This is about going within.
Wow. Thank you.
I really love I really honor how you presented all of this. It's beautiful.
Thank you. It's been a journey. It's been a process. And I do reference some of my experiences in the classroom, because I did learn so many things from the classroom. And I think that you touched on something that really important that it is not from a clinical perspective. And
Yeah.
I know that, you know, and that's why there's someone for everyone, right? I mean, my experience in education and my theories come from practical classroom experience, which is a little different than, I mean, a lot different than clinical. Although there is research shows that a lot of the things, if I put all of the data together, it does back it up with science and all the things. So,
sure, because each of these pillars are they are I think the science would back it up for me. How I'm feeling it is that more and more we're understanding how mindfulness and meditation and self-awareness is key to transformational change for our lives.
yes.
And there's so much science now with data showing that, you know, meditation really helps in so many ways for our lives, from a health, physical, spiritual, emotional, mental.
Absolutely.
So,
And there's so much science around, you know, the child's brain, you know,
the
where the child's
neuroscience.
brain is really not developed yet. And we are, as the adults, because we think in logical terms, we expect our children to be logical, and they're not logical at all.
No,
So,
they're living the full expression of the divine.
yes,
Which
they're
is
the closest, fullest
random,
expression of the divine. And this
spontaneous,
is, I love
creative.
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is another example of how, you know, a child will throw a tantrum. You know, it's okay for them to, I mean, they roll around, they feel their emotions as they are happening. And as adults, we're conditioned to repress our emotions as they're happening. Because, you know, if a grown-up is, you know, doesn't like the way somebody talked to them and they throw themselves on the ground and they roll around and throw a fit, right, that they would probably, you know, be institutionalized or something. But if a child throws their body on the ground and doesn't like the way that, you know, you told them, no, they can't have the cookie, and they throw their you know, their body on the ground, they are fully feeling their emotions.
Right.
And if we are present as the adult, and this is where the pillars come in place, like if we hold the boundary and we show compassion and grace and we have patience for the boundary, it doesn't mean that the behavior is okay, but it means that we're allowing that full expression to come through and pass, and then they move on. I mean, if we really watch children, they are so conscious with what's happening with their body and their emotions, not logically, but emotionally. They are the closest thing to emotional intelligence. It's the adults that try to repress and correct and discipline, which really the root of that word is to teach. So we are trying to control and condition the way that they show up. And that's why, you know, if we allow them to feel safe and in their emotion, and if we see them in their emotion, we just support it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it doesn't mean that it's like the behavior is okay, but it does correct itself, essentially. I mean, it's a practice, but that's like,
and that's a practice of trust and faith, isn't it? That it will correct itself, and that ultimately that the child knows how to correct itself.
Ultimately, yes.
Yes.
If we stand there, if we see them, and that's why that's the you know, the under part is because if they feel seen and they feel safe, then they don't have to earn, like if they don't have to earn our love or our attention. And love is deeper than just that word. And that's why if they feel worthy, if we can support that, then it does really correct itself. And that doesn't mean, and this is where I was just reading another article and I thought it was fascinating. It was because if the child throws a tantrum, then we put on a show and we distract them from their emotions, and then they get all, you know, then they get they soothe themselves with the show instead of just feeling through their feelings.
Right.
Or if
So
we give them a
why,
cookie. because
Okay,
we want them to stop their tantrum.
the tantrum. So it's almost like dishonoring the emotion, dishonoring the tantrum, so that I keep it in the eye, so that I can feel more in control and feel better.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
yeah,
Because it makes us feel
feel a good
it,
parent, not judged or
yeah,
whatever. There's 1,000 different memes going
1,000
on.
different things. I mean, there's so many things. It's our trigger that they're
Yeah.
behaving that way. So we need to control it.
So it comes back to which is exactly how, I made a video about this today, to go out on my other channel tomorrow, about the meaning we attach
The
to
meaning.
experiences. The experience is going to happen, and it's the meaning I place on the experience that's going to kind of solidify into the belief system that I have and the concepts that I create. So like
So good.
thousands of snapshots of those meanings a day are going to solidify what I believe being a mother is, or being in business is, or being a lover is, or whatever, being a creative.
That's right.
I'm putting meaning onto all of it continually.
Yeah.
And that meaning is literally my finite perspective,
Exactly.
based on old dramas and traumas and stuff, or whatever. Yeah.
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 Oh, so good. Yeah, I
Oh
can't
my
wait to
God.
see that.
I love
It
it. I
is.
need to read your book.
What's
I
that?
want to read your book. I want to read your book, not a need, a want.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Monica, thank you so much for being here.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
for
I'm so
being
grateful.
here.
I'm so grateful to be here with you. Thank you for this. It's just that you have this platform to share with people, and to get the messages out there for the world, to help
Yes.
and support. I mean, community, like you said. I'm grateful for Tisha, like you said, to connect, to be the connector, and that's what we need, is more people that are willing to share and connect.
Yes.
It also shows that you're not alone.
We're not alone. We're not isolated. And the piece here, I mean, in general, Divine CEO is about is supporting women, and self-identified women that identify as women, those that identify as women. And you've come on with a piece that is, although it may be, well, there are maybe people watching that aren't parents, and it's not about parenting for them, and it's not about, however, what you're teaching and your work is the parenting piece. It's like the reparenting of who we are, at whatever, however we identify gender, or
Yes.
whether we have children or not. It's irrelevant. It's always this piece of loving ourselves and coming back to the knowing of wholeness. And
Absolutely.
yes, and thank you for writing or bringing your book into life, your knowing, your wisdom into life, so that we can, irrelevant of whether there are children or not, we can look at that for our own life.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Mm.
It's so beautiful how it all evolved, and it took this long journey to
Sure. Yeah, it's still going.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been, and that's the thing about parenting, right? It is across the lifespan. And there's a class at the university that I taught, and it is called Parenting Across the Lifespan, because it is, and like you said, parents have adult children, and then even if you're not a parent, but it is relationships, really, and that's the connecting piece of relationships. And yeah, it's
I'd love you to come back on the show and talk again in a few months, to share again, and like a part 2. Let's do a part 2, because I know there's
part 2. I'd love to. Absolutely. I know there's so much more. We could talk all day.
so much more, so many layers. So I'd like to complete the show here, Divine CEO. Thank you to everyone that's joined, watching. If you've heard the whole thing or little snippets, I know that you've got something from it. And Monica, you can contact Monica here at, let me just put this up, homeandharmonyparenting@gmail.com. on Facebook, on Instagram. I'll put all the links in the blurb underneath so that you can just link and click and get the free chapter of Monica's book, The Connected Parent. There's the link. That will be down below also. And do you have a 1 minute kind of blast of something you'd just like to share to complete the show, maybe for a parent of anyone that's going through something where parenting might be, whether it's for themselves or with a child?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. First, I just wanted to thank you so much for inviting me on to your show. It's just been such a delight, and I'm so grateful to be here in this space with you. And what I'd like to leave everyone with is just, put your hand on your heart and take a deep breath and recognize that, we are not alone in this journey, and we deserve to feel loved, and you deserve to feel worthy, and everything is always working out. Even when it feels challenging, it's like everything is always going to work out. And that's a knowing and a trust, and it's the trust fall of being human. It's very courageous to be human.
Yes, and then to bring life through, that's more courage.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're powerful creators. Let's remember that one as well.
Absolutely. Yes, we're the powerful creators that create everything to work, always working out.
Oh yeah.
Even in the struggle, it's like, it's okay. That's how we grow to the other side.
Yes. So. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, darling. Thank you so much.
This book as well. This is the Divine CEO link. If you're watching and would like the magazine, check it out at the there we go, DivineCEOConnection.com. You can download the magazines, read them all for free. They're all there. The original Flip magazines, they're all on the website. So
the magazines are gorgeous. Even digitally, they're beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Thank you for hosting this. This is so fabulous.
This is great.
Excited for part 2.
Watch out for part 2. Bye.
Bye, darling.